name is Robert Hardy, R-O-B-E-R-T-H-A-R-D-Y. I'm the fire chief of Pine Valley.
Great. So can you walk me through what damage was experienced over this weekend and if there's any closures still?
Okay, so the damage has been mostly to infrastructure. We have a road that's been severely damaged. Unfortunately, it was recently paved. Like last month, they put new pavement down in the neighborhood, and the pavement's all buckled and wavy and bumpy. We did have some water and mud intrusion into several homes, mostly into the garage area, so we haven't seen major damage that way. We had one home that had major mud intrusion into the basement. It came through the garage and the man door and filled the basement full of sediment and sludge. That's probably the worst damaged home, and then a handful of other homes with mud and stuff in the garages. And then the campground, I've talked to the forest ranger. The campground sustained major damage. In fact, we're really encouraging people to stay away, even though there's not a hard closure on the area. The road is closed, but people have been walking in. The Forest Service is discouraging people from even doing that because it is a very hazardous area right now.
For those homes that were so hard hit, what kind of resources do they have right now to help rebuild?
Well, I don't know if there's going to be rebuilding, it's just cleanup. And the neighborhood came together, the community members and the local church organization came together on Saturday and cleaned up the driveways and pulled out all the stuff out of the garages and got them cleaned up. Even people that weren't here that live in Nevada, they reached out and said, hey, we can't get up there to take care of our home, and the community went in and cleaned it all out. So between family members of the affected people and the community, they've cleaned up all those homes and gotten the stuff out already.
And what correlates with the areas that were hit hardest? Were some of these homes like in the burned area? Or?
It's all related to burn scar. The west side of town, where the fire didn't encroach on, no problem at all. Inch and a half of rain at my rain gauge, and you couldn't even tell there was any rain at all, hardly. It was because the mountain soils normally could really handle that kind of moisture, but it's all burn scar related because the water just came down, the soil couldn't hold it, and it all ran off. So it's all related to the fire and the burn scar.
So then after a fire, if we know that the soil can't handle it, what can be done to help replenish the soil to prepare for an incident like this?
So part of it is the ash and stuff has just got to wash off, and that's what we're seeing now, a lot of the ash. And then after that, there are already plans to mitigate this, and they're going to go in and plant native vegetation to try to stabilize the soil. They're going to come in and plant trees. All of this is in the works, it's being planned, but that doesn't help us now. So down the road, there's a plan to mitigate future flood risk, but in the short term, there's really not much we can do because it is what it is.
This was obviously a large storm, but this week, Pine Valley is going to have just traditional rain. Is flooding expected for traditional rain as well in the Scar area?
Yes. Sorry, the wind's really blowing.
Do you mind if I just pull me out a second? I just want to cover this a little more because
Okay.
it is quite windy.
Okay.
I think it should be okay. But
All right. Test. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, interesting thing is the National Weather Service, I had a meeting with them right after the fire, and they indicated that the Pine Valley area has the third highest intensity of precipitation in the state. All three of the highest intensity areas are in southern Utah, and Pine Valley is number 3. So this area is used to having high intensity storms, especially during the monsoon season. Storms will come in and they'll just kind of sit at one spot and dump, and it can be 3 or 4 inches of rain. When that happens, the streams run higher, but we don't have flooding because the mountain soils can handle it. Right now, the mountain soils can't handle it. So even a normal rainstorm, a light rainstorm, can cause major flooding.
On a homeowner standpoint, if they know then there's going to be some rain this week, what resources do they have to prepare for protecting their home?
Part of that cleanup on the weekend was we have a lot of sandbagging that's taken place, and we'll have more coming up too. Thousands of sandbags have been filled and taken up there and staged along the road in front of people's property. They've built up higher berms around those homes that have been affected by the flooding. So we're hoping that will keep it out, but if you could have seen the raging torrent we had here on Friday night, there's no amount of sandbagging that would have kept that out. It was unbelievable how violent and destructive that was. So we've done what we can, but we're really at the mercy of Mother Nature, because that water, everything that falls on this saturated soil is just going to run off. We have limited channels for it to use, and it's just all going to go where it wants to go.
Do you see this as an increasing problem with time?
It is. The ash and stuff is pretty will be washed off here with this storm and the next couple of storms. So I think most of the ash is gone, but now what we're seeing is mud. It's just the mud coming down, and I'm afraid it's probably going to get worse. I'm not a hydrologist or a forest specialist, but what I've been told by the experts is as this vegetation starts to rot and come down, we're going to start getting debris flows. So instead of ash and mud, we're going to see more of debris flows, which could be even worse. And this is going to be with us for the next 3 to 5 years.
Is there then a pollution or a health concern with debris in the water?
No, it's all natural forest debris, so it's not like it's toxic stuff. And luckily, or fortunately, all the homes that were destroyed were all cleaned up before this happened. So we would worry about toxic runoff from the homes that were burned, all the plastics and the non-natural materials that burned in that case left a lot of really nasty residues. If that would have washed off, that would have been a concern. But that was all cleaned up and mitigated before the storms happened, so we haven't had any of that kind of runoff.
You said all this was happening on the burn scar. Are there any homes who are just rebuilt from the fire who now are facing this?
No, they are. They're in the process of rebuilding. Unfortunately, one of the families up there had the basement in with the concrete, and that filled up with water and sludge, and they've been trying to keep that out. And just when they pump it out, then it fills back up again with the next storm. So the people who are trying to rebuild are actually being hampered by this. It's not actually destroying anything that's been rebuilt, but it's making it really hard for the crews to continue working.
Is there any way for building new homes in the area that they can build more resilient?
They can for the fire. The flood is harder because we're at the risk of the burn scar. Normally we wouldn't have flooding in these areas at all, and so the homes that were built there were built to the standards that we thought were safe then. But now with the burn scar, nothing is safe up there. There are plans by the mitigation company that's been hired by the county to put in some diversions and some retention basins up there to catch the debris. So there are plans to make the runoff and stuff more manageable, but those have to go through studies and get approved and financed, and then get the equipment up there, permission from the Forest Service to get in there and make those mitigations. All of that's going to take time, and these storms came before any of that could happen.
So for something like putting in vegetation, what's the biggest challenge? Is it funding? Is it time?
It's getting all of there's been a company that's been hired, a consultation company, to come in and do the mitigation. They have to get all the studies done of what actually has to happen. So they have to say, what do we need to do to rehabilitate this area? This is what we're going to have to do. We have to get the funding then to do that, and the approval from the county and the Forest Service to go ahead and do that. So it's just a long process to get all the information done and done it right, so it's done legally and safely. But in the meantime, we have these storms coming, and we have done some things as a community to go out and clean out some of the stream banks to try to keep the water in the banks. So we've done what we can as a community, but we don't know what we don't know, and this is all new to us. And we've been fortunate. We would have lost some homes and major property if we hadn't done the things we had done. So we're encouraged to keep doing those things and keep the people aware of what's going on. But building a home up in there to prevent flood damage, I don't know. There is a way to build fire resilient homes, and we've got examples of that where a home that was built to higher standards survived the fire right there where the other homes were consumed. And we're going to see more of that with the new codes and stuff. There will be more fire resilient buildings built. As far as flood resiliency, I don't know what we're going to do about that.
Regarding preparation, what's the best way that people are informed that a storm like this is coming?
So we really encourage people to be signed up with the reverse 911 system, 911register.com. And for instance, Friday night when that the water washed over the main road coming into Pine Valley. We immediately put out a reverse 911 telling everybody in the community, don't try to leave because the road's been flooded, you can't get out. And then it was safe again, we put out another one saying things are resolved. So being involved with the reverse 911 is the very best thing. And then we also were on Nextdoor and Facebook, and we have a very active social media presence on those platforms. So if people will watch those things, we'll keep them informed also.
Now this is a volunteer fire department.
Yes.
And what other challenges were there this weekend? Were there challenges regarding not enough volunteers or potentially getting there in time with road conditions?
That's exactly right. When the flood first happened, we were very surprised by the ferocity of it. It was incredible. We immediately manned our vehicles to send up into the neighborhood, but there was a torrent coming down the access road. The water was probably 1.5 to 2 feet deep with rapids. Everybody up there was cut off. We couldn't even get our vehicles in there. As soon as the water subsided, immediately we went in there and started assessing damage and making mitigation. But yeah, we were surprised at what came through. It was just unbelievable. And we couldn't access the neighborhood. There's only one access road into the neighborhood, and that was under 2 feet of really hard rushing water.
So what's the best way you can ensure that people will get the help they need during a storm like this?
There is no way. We actually had a high water vehicle come up from Dameron Valley with swift water rescuers. They couldn't even drive in there until the water came down. It's just impossible to take a vehicle into that kind of raging water. It's not like it's standing water that you can just get a high clearance vehicle to drive through. This is raging water with incredible force behind it, and it was rolling boulders and timbers, and it's just not safe to enter that with any kind of a vehicle. So when that happens, we're stuck until the water recedes.
So do you feel there's enough funding and support from the city to help measures like this?
We're not a city. We're unincorporated county, and so we have the county support, and the county's been great. Washington County has been great. We had the emergency operations folks up here all night on Friday until like 1 or 2 in the morning. They've been very supportive. They set up a camera over here so they can monitor the situation 24 hours a day. They're the ones that bring us the sandbags and the sand and the flood response trailers. The county's been great, and the road crews were up here that night. As soon as they were trapped on the other side. They couldn't even get in here until the water receded off the main highway. But as soon as it did, they were in here with scrapers and graders and snow plows, getting all the muck and mess off the road and identifying hazards for people to avoid. So the county road department's been great. The county emergency operations center's been great. We've had great support from the county.
Are there any road closures people should still be aware of other than the campground?
Just the campground.
I think that's all my questions. Anything I haven't touched on that you would like to share?
No, but thank you for coming and getting the straight story. I know that the news media and social media hates a vacuum, so I appreciate your patience and waiting for me to come up here so I can give you the best information I have, and I appreciate you sharing that. Again, if I could do anything, please encourage people to be on the reverse 911 system and follow the closures. I wish people would stay out of the campground because I don't want somebody getting injured up there, because then it takes resources away from our department that we want to use elsewhere to run up to do an EMS call in the campground from somebody who shouldn't have been up there. So if anything, encourage people to stay away from that hazardous area so we don't have injuries.